Okay, so there has been a rise in sharing services across our country, talking cars, homes, even boats, but there are liability risks attached to these services. So great to have Nainesh Kotak from Kotak Law back on the show, on the couch with us to talk us through it. Good to see you, Nainesh.
Good to see you.
So when you're talking, let's say cars, let's start there. Are we talking ride-sharing services, Uber, Lyft, that?
Right, so there's two really categories you could look at where people need to, I think, be educated more for insurance. One is the ride sharing, so you've got Uber, Lyft, even the food delivery as well. And the other, in fact, is car sharing, where people, may use the vehicle for half an hour and so on and so forth. So getting to the ride sharing, so for example, Uber, they do provide insurance. I believe it's through Economical. And the coverage begins at specific times. For example, when your app is on, there's a certain amount of coverage. When you're going to pick up a ride or when you're actually driving, and the limit is $2 million in terms of liability. It's important to tell your personal insurance that you are driving Uber as well, so they need to be aware of it because they'll cover you up to the point of you turning on your app to get to drive. There is excess coverage. Sometimes that liability and bound of $2 million is not enough. If you've got a car full of 3 or 4 people, they make a lot of money and they're really hurt badly when they can't work, I would suggest getting over coverage over and above what Uber gives.
Because what would happen if you did get into something?
There could be personal liability, right? If you don't have enough of coverage. The next interesting is actual car sharing. So you're starting to see that more and more. I think over the next number of years we will see that where people say, well, I don't need to have a car all the time. I want to use a car this day or that day. I'm going to pay for a service to use somebody's car. Well, huge insurance implications there. The actual owner of the vehicle 100% needs to let their insurer know, and they may have set up a company of some sort doing that, but they still need to let their insurer know. Even if you're borrowing somebody else's for that purpose, I would suggest consult with your broker. There sometimes is non-driver insurance as well, which will protect you in certain gaps. So it's a very interesting phenomenon that I think we're going to see more and more of, the actual car sharing. Okay. Even Airbnb.
Let's get into the home stuff. So what's it mean there, Nainesh?
Right, so Airbnb will give you 2 types of insurance. One is for liability and the other is for some property damage. But you must tell your home insurer what you're doing with your property, that you are renting out as Airbnb. And again, there's gaps. I read somewhere, for example, let's say there's a smoke or a fire caused by a dryer, okay, and it damages property, damages the unit, for example. So the Airbnb insurer could say, well, no, it's not the guest who did that. They were operating it, but it's the dryer, and therefore your home insurance could cover. The home insurer may say, well, wait a minute, no, the guest was using it, the coverage should be there. So one option, to fill the gap is to talk to your broker about general commercial liability insurance. And that's something that, I think the consultation should be made on it. I think it's always better, unfortunately, to be overinsured than underinsured to avoid the personal liability.
Well, there's so many contractual obligations, and you say here, understanding the terms and conditions and making sure that you read that. Who reads that?
You know what? I tell you something.
You read that.
Well, even we have a hard time with it, right? But look, if there's something you don't understand in a policy, you have to ask the broker. Ask the broker, explain this. And obviously it's their duty to go through it with you, and they will. And if you tell them, I don't understand this, they'll explain it to you. And you should also ask your broker, do you suggest any other coverage that I may need reasonably? Is there any gaps in this coverage that's provided by Uber or my personal insurance or the Airbnb insurance and my home insurance? What are the gaps and how do we fill it? You're going to save yourself, I think, a huge nightmare down the road. Murphy's Law, when you think something is not going to happen, these silly things end up happening and they can have dramatic consequences financially.
Specifically with cars, you're seeing people not even getting their license right away. You know what I mean? Like for us, like as soon as I turn 16, I'm like, I need my license, freedom. But it's just a different mentality with these ride-sharing programs. So just making sure that you do have the proper coverage. Great to see you. We'll see you next month. But you have a big anniversary coming up on February the 8th.
February 8th, I would have been practicing law for 30 years.
30 years. Congratulations.
30 years.
That's
time
amazing.
flies, man. It just catches up to you.
Good stuff. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see you next month with another great topic. Nainesh Kotak from Kotak Law. On this last day of January, we'll see you in a couple minutes.